Hey y'all, it's entry number 45 of this off-season series where we discuss a different player's fantasy value each day as a group. We are another day closer to the start of the 2022 NFL season. Each day we'll drop a name, go through some positives and some concerns of their fantasy profile, and then I'll give my personal opinion at the end. Today's discussion will be on Rashod Bateman, wide receiver, Baltimore Ravens. We will start with the positives with Rashod Bateman's fantasy profile. Targets available with Marquise Brown gone. The Baltimore Ravens traded away Marquise Brown this past offseason, sending him to the Arizona Cardinals. During the 2021 season, Brown had 91 receptions on 146 targets for 1,008 receiving yards and 6 receiving touchdowns according to Pro Football Reference. With this move, the number one wide receiver role in Baltimore is up for grabs, as well as the 146 targets, and Bateman currently stands as the most likely to benefit from it. The next thing I really like about his profile is that it's his sophomore season. Rookie pass catchers generally have a harder time being successful at the NFL level, with only 27 rookies in NFL history finishing with over 1,000 receiving yards in their rookie year, according to StatMuse. So, expectations for Rashod Bateman last year were much lower. According to an article by Pro Football Focus, wide receiver breakout performances are more abundant from a percentage and raw numbers standpoint in years 2 and 3. So now that Bateman's in his second season, he should be better adjusted to the level of play expected at the NFL level and be more prepared to contribute during the 2022 season. The third thing I liked about his profile is his college efficiency. In 2019, Rashod Bateman averaged 3.48 yards per route run, which was the 7th best in the nation according to Pro Football Focus, and was particularly elite from the outside, averaging 3.6 yards per route from a split-wide alignment, the top in FBS. He averaged 16.3 yards per catch as well during his college career, which shows what kind of threat he's capable of being. Moving on to some of the concerns with Bateman's fantasy profile. The Ravens' offense hasn't been very pass-happy in the past. Over the course of his 131-game career as an NFL play caller, Greg Roman's offense has averaged just 28.75 passing attempts per game and 16.15 wide receiver room targets per game. While last year's passing numbers were closer to the league averages, it could easily just be a one-year fluke with the amount of injuries the team had, impacting the potential game scripts and play calling given Roman's extensive history of more run-focused offenses. The second concern I have with Rashod Bateman's fantasy profile is his NFL efficiency thus far. For the most part, Bateman's efficiency numbers from 2021 don't really pop off of the page. He averaged just 1.55 yards per route run, the 67th best among wide receivers, 7.7 yards per target, the 57th best among wide receivers, 1.16 yards per pass attempt, 50th best among wide receivers, 0.31 fantasy points per route, the 70th best among wide receivers, 1.54 fantasy points per target, the 72nd best among wide receivers, according to Player Profiler. Efficiency is a big indicator for breakout wide receivers, and we haven't seen Bateman flash too much in this area yet. The third concern I have with Rashod Bateman's fantasy profile is his average yards after the catch. Rashod Bateman averaged a below-average 3.6 yards after the catch during the 2021 season, according to RotoWire. Some additional thoughts on Rashod Bateman's fantasy profile. During the 2021 season, Rashod Bateman finished as the WR80 in standard, with 57.5 total fantasy points and 4.8 fantasy points per game. The WR73 in half PPR formats, with 80.5 total fantasy points and 6.7 fantasy points per game, and the WR71 in full PPR formats, with 103.5 total fantasy points and 8.6 fantasy points per game, according to Fantasy Pros. In .5 PPR formats during the 2021 season, Rashod Bateman had 5 out of 12 games with 0 to 5 fantasy points, 4 out of 12 games with 5 to 10 fantasy points, and 3 out of 12 games with 10 to 15 fantasy points according to fantasy data. Rashod Bateman stands 6 foot tall and weighs 190 pounds. He ran a 4.43 40-yard dash during his college pro day. During his career at Minnesota, he showed that he can win on the inside or the outside and can create separation at every level of the field. Personal opinion. As of early July 2022, Rashod Bateman was going off the board as WR38 about pick 94 overall on ESPN and WR30 about pick 88 overall on Yahoo. This is around the right ballpark for him, but to be perfectly honest, there are few wide receivers currently going later than him that I would personally rather have, most notably Elijah Moore and Adam Thielen, Darnell Mooney, and Gabriel Davis on Yahoo, because they have flashed more in the efficiency department at this point. Because of this, I'm not as likely to end up with a lot of shares of Bateman at his current cost since there's a lot of hype for him. For each of these entries, we will highlight a charitable cause or organization. Rashod Bateman has been part of a charitable initiative after forming a bond with young cancer patient Braxton Battaglia. Here's a link to that organization below. And that's it for today's entry. If you enjoyed this entry, be sure to like and subscribe.